Please subscribe to the channel for more sci-fi videos daily. The holographic emitters flicker across Station Apex 7, casting electric blue light over the tribunal chamber where humanity's fate hangs by a thread. 300 dignitaries, human, Crithian, Vexari, and a dozen other species sit in concentric rings around a central platform, their breathing masks hissing in the recycled air. The camera glitches through a warp transition, metallic walls bleeding into chrome floors as Lieutenant Marcus Hayden of the U.S. Marine Corps shifts his weight. Desert camouflage armor plates clicking. He's 26, cocky, with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow and a smirk that's gotten him into trouble before. Across from him stands Keltherin, 8 feet of genetically perfected Galactic Enforcer, his obsidian armor catching the neon edges of the room like liquid starlight. His face barely visible through the semi-transparent helmet isn't quite human, isn't quite anything recognizable. Alien glyphs pulse along his gauntlets in rhythmic patterns. The peace talks have dragged on for 17 hours, and that's why the Terran coalition demands reparations. Ambassador Rodriguez drones, his voice echoing through translator implants. A flash cut, the room stretches and compresses, reality bending as the camera spirals, and Marcus leans toward his squadmate, Corporal Jenkins, whispering just loud enough. These freaks think they own the universe. Look at that tall bastard, probably never seen real combat. Jenkins tries to shush him, but Marcus is already standing, the hydraulics in his leg armor hissing. Hey! His voice cracks across the chamber like a whip. Every head turns. The Crithians, insectoid creatures with compound eyes, click their mandibles in alarm. The Vexari, translucent and floating, pulse red with agitation. I got a question for the big guy. Keltheron's helmet shifts microscopically. The camera zooms through a glitch effect, static eating the edges of the frame. And suddenly we're in tight on Marcus's face, pupils dilated, jaw set. Your code of honor, or whatever spiritual warrior bullshit you people preach, where was it during the Sigma Prime massacre, when your ships glassed 3 of our colonies? His hand gestures wildly, the crowd's murmuring rising like a wave. 60,000 civilians, children, and you stand there in your god-complex armor talking about honor. The last word drips with venom. A bass-heavy rumble shakes the station. The sound design, amplifying tension heartbeats, sync with the ambient hum of the reactor core below. Ambassador Rodriguez is on his feet. Lieutenant, stand down immediately. But Marcus is locked in now, adrenaline flooding his system. The camera warps again, pulling back through layers of spectators. Their faces a blur of shock and anticipation, before snapping forward in a brutal close-up. What's wrong, big guy? No translator for truth. He takes 3 steps forward, past the neutral zone markers. Warning, lights pulse crimson. Or maybe you're just another coward hiding behind the slap. Comes before anyone can process movement. One moment Marcus is mid-sentence, the next his head whips 90 degrees. The crack of armored palm against reinforced helmet, echoing like a gunshot in a cathedral. Time fractures. The sound hits once, boom, then reverberates, layered, bass-boosted, shaking the molecular structure of the air itself. Silence drops like a guillotine blade. Marcus staggers, vision swimming red. Blood trickles from his nose, painting the inside of his cracked face shield. The entire chamber has frozen, 300 beings holding their collective breath. A Crithian diplomat's translator glitches. Did he just? The words hang, unfinished. Keltherin stands perfectly still, his hands still raised, fingers slightly spread. The camera does a slow dolly around them. 360 degrees of stunned faces, human marines with hands on sidearms, Galactic Enforcers calculating trajectories, politicians already drafting war declarations in their heads. The holographic peace treaty document flickers and dies. Through the station's windows, warships from both fleets orbit in uneasy proximity, their weapons dormant but primed. One spark, that's all it would take. Marcus's vision clears. The shock gives way to rage-hot, primal, the kind that ends civilizations. His hand goes to the plasma sidearm at his hip, but before his fingers close around it, he stops, looks up. Keltherin hasn't moved. The galactic soldier's face, barely visible through the helmet's transparency, shows nothing. No triumph, no anger, no humanity whatsoever. Just absolute certainty. Marcus's hand drops. He laughs, a broken sound that might be hysteria or might be courage. That the best you got? He spits blood onto the pristine floor. 5 seconds. Freak. I'll give you 5 seconds to put me down, or I'm putting you through that wall. He gestures at the reinforced titanium barrier behind the galactic delegation. "Let's see what your honor is worth when I rip that helmet off and—" "Marcus, no!" Jenkins is shouting, but the words are underwater, distant. The flash cut transitions through a warp-effect reality, stretching like taffy, and suddenly the entire chamber is counting down, not out loud, internally. Every being in the room knows 5 seconds will define the next century of intergalactic relations. 1. Kale. Theron takes a single step forward, his movements impossibly smooth for something so massive, armor plates shifting like organic tissue. HUD overlays flicker across his vision. We see them superimposed on the screen, calculating vectors, force coefficients, acceptable casualty outcomes. 2. Marcus raises his fists, enhanced exoskeleton servos whining, preparing to deliver a strike that could shatter concrete. His squad is yelling. The galactic delegation is moving to intervene, but they're all too slow. Reality operating on a different frequency now. 3. The distance closes. 3 meters. 2. Keltheron's hand, the same hand that delivered the slap extends, fingers forming a cage. Marcus swings, a perfect right cross, amplified by military-grade hydraulics. The punch connects with Keltheron's armored ribs. The sound is catastrophic. Metal screeches against some material humanity hasn't discovered yet. The galactic soldier doesn't even flinch. 4. Marcus's eyes widen, realization hitting like cold water. He tries to pull back, but Keltheron's hand is already closing around his skull, gauntlet fingers finding purchase on the reinforced helmet, servo motors in the alien armor engaging with a high-pitched whine that builds and builds and— 5. The crush is almost surgical. Keltheron's hand contracts, the motion deliberate, measured, unavoidable. The sound is everything: bone cracking like breaking ice, metal compressing, the wet crunch of tissue giving way, and underneath it all a bass drop so profound it feels like the station's gravity fails for a microsecond. Marcus's body goes rigid, then limp. His helmet, what's left of it, crumples like wet cardboard. Blood, impossibly red against the chrome floor, spreads in a perfect circle. Keltheron opens his hand. The body drops. The silence that follows is absolute. Not even breathing. Not even the station's ambient hum registers. The universe has paused to witness. Then chaos. Screaming erupts in 17 different languages. Jenkins is charging forward, pulling his sidearm. But for Galactic Enforcers materialize from nowhere, disarming him before his finger reaches the trigger. The camera glitches wildly now, cutting between faces frozen in Hora Vexari. Diplomats form, flashing through every color spectrum. A human ambassador covering her mouth. A Crithian warrior caste clicking rapid-fire battle readiness. Commander Sarah Mitchell, 43 years old, recipient of the Sol System Medal of Honor. Marcus's commanding officer pushes through the crowd, her face a mask of fury and grief. "You son of a bitch." She's already calculating retaliation vectors, her hand reaching for the ceremonial pulse rifle that's definitely not ceremonial. "Stand down." Ambassador Rodriguez blocks her path, but his voice is weak, shaking. Everyone knows it's over. The peace talks, the treaty, everything. The flashback hits like a shockwave, no transition. Just a hard cut to black. Then images bleeding through. A galactic warship hovering over a human colony world called New Providence, 15 years ago. The camera is shaky, handheld, documentary style. Civilian shuttles fleeing. Then the orbital bombardment lances of coherent light, turning cities into glass. Keltheron was there, a younger version, his armor less ornate, but he wasn't attacking. The footage is grainy, corrupted, but clear enough. Human ships, rogue elements, disavowed by Earth command firing on their own colonies. False flag operation to justify aggression against the Galactic Union. Keltheron's unit arrived to evacuate survivors, but the damage was done. The humans blamed the Galactics blamed the humans. Truth drowned in propaganda, and Keltheron, he watched 17,000 beings die because of human lies. The flashback glitches back to present, his hand still dripping with Marcus's blood. Commander Mitchell breaks free, lunging. Keltheron moves a blur. Even the cameras struggle to track hand. Suddenly she's disarmed, her pulse rifle in his other hand, pointed at the floor. He didn't hurt her. Could have snapped her neck as easily as he did. Marcus's didn't. The distinction matters. Mitchell stares at him, chest heaving, and for a moment sees it, the weight in those alien eyes. Not triumph, not pleasure, just exhaustion. The Galactic Council chamber erupts in discourse. High Counselor Vexter, ancient Vexari, whose transparent form contains swirling galaxies, raises all 7 of his limbs. This act of aggression cannot stand. The treaty is void. We declare. His words are drowned by competing voices. The Crithian swarm mind demands immediate military response. The Draken hegemony calls for economic sanctions. The Terran coalition's representatives are shouting over each other, half demanding war, half begging for restraint. The station's warning klaxons begin to wail. Outside, the warships are powering weapons. In the chamber, soldiers from both sides have weapons drawn, safeties off, targeting lasers, painting dozens of crosshairs across armor and flesh. The next 60 seconds will determine if this becomes a war that consumes galaxies. The camera pans across the room in one long, unbroken shot. The cinematography is suffocating, claustrophobic, despite the massive space. Everyone trapped in this moment of collective insanity. A young human officer, no older than 22, stands at the back. Private First Class Jackson Reeves. Nobody important. No decorations, no commendations, just another grunt who thought he'd see the universe. He looks at Marcus's body, looks at Keltherin, looks at the weapons trained on everyone he's ever served with, and Jackson starts walking forward. Every step deliberate. His hands are raised, palms open, weapons still holstered. Private. Commander Mitchell barks, "Get back in formation." He doesn't stop. The crowd parts, instinctively, confusion rippling through the mass of diplomats and soldiers. Jackson crosses the neutral zone, past the warning markers, past the point of no return. He's 5 feet from Keltherin when he stops. The galactic soldier could kill him as easily as breathing. Instead, Keltherin tilts his head, a gesture so human it's jarring. Jackson drops to one knee. The motion is slow, controlled, unmistakable. Not from fear, not from defeat, from something else entirely. The chamber goes silent again, but this silence is different, pregnant with possibility instead of dread. "I don't speak for Earth," Jackson says, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "I don't speak for the coalition. I speak for myself." He looks up at Keltherin, meeting those alien eyes. Lieutenant Hayden was wrong. What he said about honor, about your people, it was ignorant and cruel. And what happened here, ... Double quotes, his voice cracks, just slightly. It was inevitable. Humans have a saying, actions have consequences. The camera does a slow zoom, cutting between Jackson's face and Keltherin's. The galactic soldier's expression unreadable. "I'm not surrendering out of fear. I'm not asking for mercy. I'm acknowledging that we humanity have been lying to ourselves about who started this, about why you hate us, and maybe if one person can admit that, can take responsibility, we don't all have to die tonight." The High Counselor floats forward, his form shimmering with internal starlight. "You would condemn your species for the actions of one fool." Jackson shakes his head. "No, sir. I'm saying one fool died for his actions. And if another 300 fools," he gestures at the entire chamber, "decide to end 2 civilizations over pride, then we're all equally guilty." Commander Mitchell steps forward, her jaw tight. For a long moment, she stares at Jackson, at the kneeling private who just committed career suicide. Then, slowly, she removes her sidearm, ejects the power cell, and sets both on the ground. "Stand down," she orders her Marines. "All of you, now." The order ripples through human ranks, weapons lowered, safeties engaged. The Galactic Council watches, calculating. Keltherin reaches down, his armored hand still stained with blood extends toward Jackson, not to strike, to offer. Jackson takes it, and the galactic soldier pulls him to his feet with surprising gentleness. The alien speaks for the first time, his voice processed through the helmet's translator, layered and resonant, like a church organ made of thunder. "Your species is young, foolish, violent." A pause, but not beyond redemption. He releases Jackson's hand, turns to the High Counselor. "I invoke right of personal resolution. The offense was against me. The response was mine. The debt is paid. I will not permit this to become war." The Council hesitates. Vexter's form cycles through colors: anger, consideration, calculation. Finally, the Galactic Union accepts this unconventional resolution. The treaty stands. With conditions, the tension bleeds from the room like a wound closing. Holographic displays flicker back to life. Diplomats return to their seats. though their movements are robotic, shock still numbing higher functions. Medical teams rush forward for Marcus's body, too late by miles, but protocol demands the attempt. Commander Mitchell approaches Jackson, her expression unreadable. "That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen, Private." Jackson's laugh is shaky. "Permission to have a breakdown later, ma'am." "Granted." She glances at Keltherin, who stands motionless, a statue of impossible violence and impossible restraint. "For what it's worth, I think he heard you." The galactic soldier's helmet turns fractionally toward them. Then he walks away, his footsteps echoing like distant thunder, leaving bloody prints that the station's automated cleaners will spend hours trying to erase. Outside, the warships powered down their weapons. Inside, the peace talks resume, colder now, weighted with fresh graves, but continuing. Jackson sits in the back row, hands still shaking, knowing his name will be in history books either as the man who prevented galactic war, or the traitor who kowtowed to humanity's enemies. Time will decide. In the medical bay, they're zipping Marcus Hayden into a body bag, his crushed skull a reminder that some insults carry prices too steep for any currency. And somewhere in the galactic wing, Keltherin removes his helmet in private, his face finally visible scarred, ancient beyond years, carrying the weight of civilizations. He looks at his hand, flexes the fingers that ended a life in 5 seconds. In his language, he whispers something the translator doesn't catch. It might be prayer, it might be apology, or it might be warning. The story spreads across the galaxy at light speed. Humans see a martyr, galactic see justice. Everyone sees the edge of the abyss they almost fell into. 5 seconds, that's all it took to kill a man, and 100 years of diplomacy to prevent it from killing millions more. The station's lights flicker, stabilize, and life continues, because it always does, even after unthinkable things, especially after unthinkable things. Marcus Hayden's death becomes a symbol of human arrogance, of galactic brutality, of the razor-thin line between civilization and chaos, and Private Jackson Reeves becomes something else, a bridge, maybe, or a sacrifice, or just a scared kid who did what he thought was right. The universe doesn't care which keeps spinning. The wars that almost were fade into the wars that might still be, and somewhere, on 100 worlds, soldiers on both sides learn a new truth. Honor without wisdom is just murder wearing medals. The screen fades to black, the last sound a single heartbeat, human or alien, impossible to tell, slowing, then silence.